With 6 people. Thank you. My question to you, Keith and Caroline, do you want to eliminate stress? Yes, yes, yes.
Yes, of course.
Thank you, Gab. How about you, Keith? Do you want to eliminate stress in your life? Thank you for saying yes to that. Also, do you want to avoid burnout? I actually suffered from burnout, but I want to save you from that. Do you want to avoid burnout also?
Yes.
Yes, yes. And last question, do you want to be happier?
Of course.
Thank you, Caroline, for saying. Kate, it's okay if you don't want to answer. I'm okay with that. If you answered yes to any of these questions, you are actually on the right webinar. And today, the title of my webinar is How to Eliminate Stress and Move from Burnout to Bliss in 24 hours, see, without taking a time off from work. So let me move on with my slide. Okay. So only 3 rules whenever I do these webinars. Number one, I hope you just open your mind to learning, because at the end of the day, I know you know something, I know something. There's no right or there's no wrong, but it's always about learning, right? And I hope you enjoy whatever I'll share today. And I please hope that there's no judgment, that I'm right, you're wrong. Let's just be free for today. Just, discuss and learn from each other. Yes, yes. Okay. Thank you, Kit. I understand you have some problems with your system, but that's fine. So yes, Caroline. So this only 3 rules I have.
Okay.
Thank you. So first, I want to thank you, Keith. I want to thank you, Carol. Sana, I want to thank you. Thank you for joining us. I want to thank, they said time is the best gift, and being, here in this webinar today tells a lot of story about you. I want to congratulate you for being here. They said 80% of success is showing up. And on LinkedIn, there's 106 people who registered for this webinar, but the 3 of you are here with me today. So thank you very much. So what do you want to learn today? How can I be of best service to you? And you can share that or you can type that. But while you're thinking of what do you want to learn from me today, can I just share a quick story about myself? In 2014, while I was the audit manager of Emirates Airlines, I was thinking to myself, I have everything I've always dreamed of, a good salary, a good job, I have a great husband, I have 2 kids. But I was always stressed and I was always sick, to the point that even my daughters are getting sick. Like every weekend, we'll go to these doctor appointments, which is very frustrating to me. And I said, there has to be some solution, right, for me to be happier and healthier and have everything I dream of. And I bumped into, in 2014, something called Nlp Training, which is about neurolinguistic programming. This is all about how the mind works. And seriously, that 3-day training, I'll say, put my life on a different level, 360 degrees, from being stressed and sickly and from being happy and healthy. And that is why it has been my passion. It has been my commitment to really share with others what is this, what can you do to eliminate stress and to overcome the challenges of every day. And because of that training that I did, I was able to move out from my comfort zone of being an audit manager. I was able to write books, which I never thought I could. I was able to reinvent my career as a speaker, as a trainer, and also as a career coach. And last year, one of the best things I think that happened to me is I got nominated as top 1 most influential Filipino on LinkedIn, and also a best career coach awardee. And see, I've been I've been into too much, I think, and I really want to help others before me, because as they said, right now, Gallup said 7 out of 10 people are suffering and also struggling. And I want to be of help to those people before me, because I've been through that situation. And my question for you today, is there anything else you want to learn from me? Because I hope you can, can share in the chat. Is there anything you want to learn from me? If you do have questions, feel free to ask me anything, because see, I'm doing this because I want to help you eliminate stress, overcome burnout, and I think at the end of the day, you do attend some webinars, right? But the one where you can get the most is when you have clarity. What do you want to take from here? So you can share it, you can type it, or whatever is whatever is comfortable to you. Now let me move now to the next thing. Oh, I like that, Sana. Thank you for sharing. Sana said how to avoid procrastination. I'm a good procrastinator, actually. And I will answer that question later. Thank you, Sana, for sharing that. So let me just move to the next part of my slide. So we might be asking, is this webinar for you? Because I never want to waste your time, as time's the most precious gift, right? So if any of this sounds like you, this webinar is definitely for you. One, you've lost motivation. Honestly, that job in Emirates, the audit manager job that I have, I've always loved that job because I was able to travel in many places in many parts of the world. But at some point in my life, I lost the motivation. And I cannot accept the fact that I don't, enjoy my work anymore. But I never realized also that's actually part of burnout. I was feeling drained all the time. So if this sound like you, like sometimes no matter how much you do, you feel drained. If sometimes you're struggling with self-doubt or procrastinating, Sana, right? If you do also have some frequent headaches, unable to get a good night's sleep, I actually suffered from insomnia also. If you're feeling irritable for some reasons and sometimes for no reason, if you're easily overwhelmed with whatever life throws at you, if any of this sounds like you, definitely this webinar is for you. So please stay with me. And thank you also, Sana. Sana also wrote how to keep solopreneurship afloat. Okay, I would love to answer. When no one have to be accountable to. Okay, that's a very good question. Thank you for sharing that, Sana. So if you answered yes, yes, yes to any of this, definitely please stay with me, because today let's talk about what is stress. Because before you got burnout, it's actually stress first. And how do we eliminate that? I found this definition. They said, stress is any type of change. Okay, any change in your life that causes physical, emotional, or psychological strain. For me, what I realized, there are many changes that I face every day. Number one, with my children, no day is the same for me. Number two, the demands of my job as an audit manager, because I have different kinds of people I talk to. I do have a lot of work that I manage, and I never realized that small changes in my life created the stress. And also, I never understood. But what they said, stress is a response. According to science, nobody can stress you. It's actually your response to a person, to an event, or to a situation. And we'll digest that further later. But this is just a very simple definition of stress, because for us to eliminate it, for you to eliminate stress, we need to define what is stress, right? Also, let us discuss burnout. Well, burnout is, according to World Health Organization, one of the epidemic, right, sickness, because they said 7 out of 10 people are suffering and struggling, and a lot of people are really burnt out now. And what is the meaning of burnout? Well, it's actually excessive and prolonged stress. To be honest with you, when I had burnout in 2014, I never realized it was burnout. Only after reading a lot of articles, I was like, oh my God, I went through that burnout. And it also happens when you feel overwhelmed emotionally and you're unable to meet the demands of every day. And let's talk more now. How do you eliminate stress? Because I want to tell you what happened to me. I want to tell you what happened to the people I had the opportunity to work with. And what I learned is the most important thing. You need to master your mind. There's always a lot of talk about this mental health, but what is it really all about, right? And I really never understood that the battle I had was really mental. That burnout is all in my head. And that training in 2014 that I went through made me understand how my mind works. And as Aristotle said, knowing yourself is the beginning of all wisdom. Now let's digest that further. And if you do have questions, please feel free to ask me. I want to thank you, everybody. Let me just acknowledge Sana. We have okay, we have Keith, we have Namisha, Karen. Thank you for joining me. Number one, you know what I learned, that the mind is actually the source of all stress and suffering. If we go back to the definition of stress, right? They said stress is a reaction because of change. And it's because of a reaction of our mind. And when I never realized that how my mind is actually rejecting change, and like, can you do this exercise with me? Is it okay if you put your cameras on? I hope you don't mind. But see, what I want you to do is this. If you don't want to open your camera, that's okay for me. But what I want you to do to experience this on a different level is to like cross your arms. Okay. Can you cross your arms for me? You're doing it? Yes, yes. Can you hear? Caroline, are you there? Okay, I find something in the chat. Okay, thank you. So, Caroline, thank you for saying this. I want you to cross your arm. Now, I want you to reverse it. Do the reverse way of crossing your arm. Okay? Now, my question to you. When I asked you to reverse your cross arm, was it difficult? Did you get confused? How do I reverse my arm, right? Because there's always, majority of people have one way to reverse their arm. So Caroline said yes. Some people, put their right hand on top or the left hand on top. And when you ask them to reverse, the first thing is that, what do I need to do? And then they start to become uncomfortable with that very simple change, and they go back to their original position. Now, how do we relate this to? See, for every change that our mind encounters, first our mind gets scared because it's not familiar with it. And when it gets scared, it becomes very difficult for the mind to keep up with the change that's happening. This is why, let me give a few more examples on that. Because our mind really hates change. That very simple change that I did, and if you did it, you will find it, what do I need to do again? How do I reverse it? So first, your mind gets confused. Second, the mind is not comfortable. And when the mind is not comfortable, it will go back to whatever it is used to. Let's say, for example, diet. Does any one of you want to lose weight? For a very long time in my life, I actually accumulated 10 kilos of weight after pregnancy. And I tried every diet there is. Paleo, whatever diet. I even went to the gym. But number one, okay, first day, you're persistent. Second day, okay. But on the third, fourth day, when it becomes very difficult, automatically, you go back to your normal habits of eating what you love to eat, right? Or sleeping more rather than exercising. Yes, right, Caroline? Because number one, your mind is so used to eating the same kind of food. My mind, for example, is not used to exercise. So what happened when I started exercising, my mind started to get confused. Okay? Because I got confused, I got stressed. When I got stressed, I went to stress eating. So rather than losing weight, I actually gained more. Because of the change of introducing exercise in my daily habit, my mind got confused. It became uncomfortable. It went to stress eating. Now, that's why a lot of change that we want to introduce our life, right? A lot of people have goals, but majority of them don't happen because our mind hates change. It hates something, that it is not familiar with. That's why every stress that you have, every struggle that you have is actually in your mind. And okay, let me read that. Naimisha said, my mind did get confused. I just fit and workout session before I joined here. Also, Sana, please, I have trouble waking up early and trouble sleeping early. That's true, right? See, every change that we introduce in our daily routine is actually very difficult. But What is the other thing? How can you eliminate? How can you deal with change? Well, first, what Charles Darwin said, if I just may quote him, this he said, it is not the strongest of the species who survive, but it is those who are most adaptable to change. And that's true, right? If dinosaurs, right? If it's the strongest, then dinosaurs would have still lived. But also what Norman Vincent Peale said, change your thoughts, you change your world. So what happened to me? Actually, I think 2 years ago, I was able to successfully lose 6 kilos from my weight. And what changed? What I only changed is my thought about food. So I enrolled into this 90-day program called Wild Feed. And one of the things that is actually the thing that we have to do every day is to review our relationship with food. Meaning, before I eat that chocolate, I have to ask myself, why am I eating this chocolate? What caused the stress that led me to eating this chocolate? So it's about mindful eating, but also other than mindful eating, it's also about eating the right kind of food. And again, it's all about changing my thought about the right food to eat. Because from childhood, our staple food is rice, rice, and rice. So we have 3 rice per day. So, um, okay. Okay, Caroline said, I have a problem continuing things. Like I can start things, but to continue, I always find it a struggle. Do you have a solution to this? I definitely agree with you. You know what? You're not alone, Caroline. A lot of people are like that. Our mind hates change. And because these big things takes a lot of effort, right? So we start something, but we don't actually end it. And the way for the solution for it is number one, find the reason in your mind. So for me, I was able to successfully lose 6 kilos sustainably without gaining it back because I have a very big why. Because the mind also works based on the law of clarity. My clear goal on my 40th birthday is I want to be the healthiest, sexiest version of myself. And because I was like, oh my God, I'm turning 40. I took it very serious, not to have, an up and down weight again. So I said, I want to lose weight sustainably and healthy, in a healthy way. And I was able to do that. Why? Because I have that goal. And also I was telling myself, I want to be there for my children's children. So Caroline, if you want to do something and you find it difficult to, continue, you ask yourself, why are you even doing it? Because if your why is enormous and emotional, the reason has to be bigger than yourself also. Like for me, more than losing the weight, it's all about being there for my children's children. So I said I need to be healthy so that I will live that long, so I can still be with my children's children. So it's about that. When you find it difficult, know why are you doing what you do. Know the reason behind it, because the mind will try to overcome every obstacle if there's clarity in the purpose of what you do. Okay. And also what they said, more than 70% of people are unhappy with their jobs. This is what Gallup said, right? But ironically, a lot of people still stay with their jobs. And number one reason is that a lot of people hate change. I just want to give you my example. When I shifted my career from audit manager to being a coach, speaker, and trainer, a lot of people whenever I submit my paper to say I wanna teach about this training on communication, I wanna teach about this training on problem solving. First, the people who's looking at my CV will ask, how can a certified public accountant and audit manager speak? So there's a lot of judgment, right? Because my skills and my experience and expertise is somehow not matching to that. That's why a lot of people are actually scared with change. Because number one, we fear being judged by other people. Second, it's very difficult to change. Honestly, when I shifted and reinvented my career, I have to restudy again. I have to study how to speak properly. I have to study, how to prepare slides, how to do this and that. And, the mind hates change, right? That's why no matter how much people hate, or no matter how much people are unhappy with their job, they stick with it because of the fear of judgment, the fear of failure, the fear of doing something new. So that is one of the reasons the mind hates change. Now, what's the other thing? Your mind is also the number one that determines the level of your success. And from my experience, I never, if you ask me that I can write a book, I can speak before people, I can do these webinars. If you tell me this 10, 20 years ago, I'll say never. Because number one, I used to be an introvert. I really have no means. I hate writing, I hate English. But I think also when you have that clarity on your mind of why do you do what you do? When I started to have this, sense of purpose to say, I want to help others before me who are stressed and burnout because I want to save them from the pain that I have been through. So that is how I was able to write a book about happiness. I was able to write about a book about how can you use your mind to overcome burnout and to find happiness and meaning in life. So what I also is that you have no limits, but all the limits is the one in your mind, the story that you tell yourself, the story that your parents, told you that you cannot do this, or whatever your friends have shared with you. This is why if you look at it, there's a lot of famous failures in the world. Like, for example, right? J.K. Rowling, imagine how many people rejected her book. 12 publishing book, 12 publishing houses. Also, Steve Jobs, imagine he was fired from his own company before. But these people, right? Whoever, there's a lot of people in this story, but also even the inventor of Thomas Edison, before he invented light, he failed 10,000 times, but he never stopped there. And what he also said is that, you know what, the the invention of light is actually not a failure. It just took 10,000 steps to get there. So I think it's very important to understand that, like these people, you actually have no limits. You can accomplish anything that you want to be because the level of success that you have is actually the one that you have in your mind. Keith, thank you, thank you. He said he has to go, but thank you for joining me. Also, what I want to remind you is that all this is one of the things that Buddha said, which I like. All that we are is the result of what we have thought. The mind is everything. What we think we become. Personally, for me, everything, even when I got the recognition as most influential Filipino on LinkedIn, I actually thought and prayed for it. I said, you know what? There's a lot of recognitions on LinkedIn, right? And I hope someday I'm going to be recognized. And 2 years after it became a reality, I'll say everything that I have in my life now is actually a product of the goal that I set with clarity that this is what I wanted to have. So your mind is really the number one thing that can make or break you, that can break you or give you a breakthrough. Now, let us also understand what else. What does the mind, Your mind defines your limits. Well, according to this quote, which I also like, the sky is not the limit, your mind is. You might be thinking, a lot of people some people can levitate, some people can walk on water, some people can read a book this quick. These people are not really special people. These people have only conditioned themselves that they can do it. And let me give you this example. This is a picture of Oprah and Tony Robbins. One of the programs of Tony Robbins is that you have to walk on fire. And you might be thinking, wow, I will never walk on fire. I will get hurt, whatever. But even before Tony Robbins do this walk on fire, he actually does a lot of mental, I'll say, exercises to program your mind to understand that the fire cannot hurt you, that the fire is the way for you to be cleansed from whatever limitations you're holding to. And a lot of these people who actually walk on fire was able to break through their mindset. Wait, everything is possible. It's really the story that you tell to your mind. And of these thousands of people who attended and actually who walk on fire through this workshop that Tony Robbins has done, I think very less than 1% of people have even been injured. And that's why it's very important. Yeah, thank you, Nimisha. Also, Nimisha has to go. Thank you for joining me. And just a question and more insights. What happens when you control your mind? This is one of my favorite books from Napoleon Hill, Think and Grow Rich. What Napoleon Hill said, if you actually do not control your mind, this is what's going to happen to you. And this is actually what happened to me. I was always sick. I was always fearful and worried for no reason I also cannot explain. I was always doubtful on many ways. I was frustrated. I was discouraged. I was, demotivated. Poverty and want. I always wanted to buy this, buy that, because I thought that material things can feed my unhappiness and emptiness. And it's also said, whole flock of evil consists of envy, greed, jealousy, anger, hatred, and superstition. But what I also learned is that when I understood how my mind works, I really actually became healthier. I stopped seeing doctors 8 years ago. Because when I understood that every sickness that I have is related to stress, then I was able to find that trigger of stress and also find a solution to manage that. I was able to have peace of mind. I can now sleep peacefully and wake up in joy. I used to have insomnia because I worry too much. I overthink a lot of things. And then in the end, I cannot sleep. But because I understood that, wait, my mind is telling me this, so I have to listen, acknowledge, and do something. But I was able to now peacefully sleep and wake up in joy. Also, labor of love of your own choice. Honestly, when I actually became a trainer slash coach and speaker, I never thought that that could be, something that I can be paid off. But that I'm very blessed to have the opportunity. And I think I used to be always worried for many things, but now I can say I'm free from fear and worry, because whenever I'm scared, there are many tools that I use to overcome my fears. Either I do journaling, I do meditation, and there's a lot of mind tools that I use to overcome and to free myself from fear and worry. And also, because of I understood now how my mind works, I was able to always find the silver lining and find the opportunity in every difficulty. And the blessing, of course, the material riches of your own choice. Before I said, I want to double my income and time off. I was like, how is it possible, right? But regardless, I just prayed for it. And it actually happened. And it all started with me just understanding how my mind works. And if you want to really eliminate stress, this is what you really have to do. You really have to understand how your mind works. And as Mahatma Gandhi said, right, you need to carefully watch your thoughts, for they become your words. You need to manage your words because it becomes your actions. You need to consider your actions also because it becomes your habit. And when you acknowledge your habit, it becomes your values, then your values become your destiny. See, everything starts with the mind. That's why if you want to eliminate stress, you need to understand the thoughts in your mind, because that is where they said 80% of the battle is. And do you have any questions for me? I'm actually almost ending now. We can end this, but if you do have questions, I would love to answer that. Also, if you do have questions, feel free to ask me. Are you ready to eliminate your stress? If you do, I actually, this training changed my life 8 years ago. So I really made it a mission to help others before me. So I'm very blessed. I'm bringing my teacher here in Dubai on November 18 to 20 for NLP training. If this is something for you, I would love to see you there, because I can share a little in this 1 hour webinar, but I know I can teach you so much. If you're there, if this is for you, feel free to send me a message. And what's going to be there? Of course, we're gonna teach you more than the tools that you need, so you can overcome the stress in seconds. And sometimes, it's just I was able to, like, one of these clients I have, she has a trauma for 20 years. And it just took us 30 minutes to remove that. And will also help you find how can you really remove these fears and worries so you can have the clarity and everything that you want in your career and all areas of your life. How can you motivate yourself to work, right? By releasing these fears, this trauma, these limiting beliefs. How can you be healthier? How can you manage difficult people? How can you manage conflicts and develop positive relationship? And how can you model successful individuals? We will teach all of this in the training. If this is for you, I would love to have you from and see you personally November 18, 19, and 20 here in Dubai. But if you do have any questions about this, feel free to send me a message on LinkedIn. But with that, I'm ending now, and I want to take some questions. If you do have questions for me, please feel free to type it on the chat. Or if you do have questions, please feel free to put your microphone on and ask me a question. So again, thank you, Caroline. I want to thank you, Sana. I want to thank you, JM, for joining me today. Do you have any questions that you have for me before I end this call? Is this even useful to you? Is this useful? Thank you, Caroline. Thank you, Sana, for saying yes. Do you have any questions? I will count up to 5. Do you have any questions you want to ask me? See, because the only thing I want to remind you, if you really want to eliminate stress, you need to understand how your mind works. Because it's really all about asking, what is your mind telling you to do? Because it will keep on going around and around the thoughts in your head if you don't acknowledge it. So no more questions, Sana. No more questions from Caroline. JM, do you have any questions for me? Okay, JM is still typing. Okay, no also. So thank you very much, Caroline. Thank you, JM. Thank you, Sana. I will send this recording to the other 103 people who registered on LinkedIn. Thank you. I wish you all the best. God bless you. Bye.